JDM tow hook because race car.
All right, all the fab work on the front end is done. I've got the cross member in. I've capped it off. I've kind of added some extra supports in there. I'm actually pretty happy with the way it turned out. Still might have to make a notch in there for the oil pan. We'll see. I can actually probably measure that if I really wanted to, but most of the time I just wing it anyways. I made some extra plates here for the future motor mounts. The factory material is pretty thin, so I just added another layer on there because I will want some thicker material for my uprights when I do the motor mounts. Otherwise, I've given it a quick wipe down, and I'm going to give the chassis a fresh coat of flat black. You can see over the years where it started black, and then it was blue for a while, and then there's some white in there. The factory red. It's a whole hodgepodge of colors. So I'm going to cover all that up and make it look pretty.
Think I'm doing that to my phone? You kidding?
For doing the chassis stuff and all the flat black stuff, I really like this Rust-Oleum. It's the 2x Ultra cover. It's straight flat black, but the coverage is really good. It seems to go a really long ways, and it gives you the nicest flat black finish out of all the flat blacks. The one I find, anyways, I really like the finish that it leaves. I think they're about $8 a can here, so it's not too bad. They say 1 can equals 2. Is that the case? I don't know, but it does a really nice job. Pretty forgiving, goes over top of just about anything, so if you don't clean it the very best, you can kind of just spray over top of it. It seems to work pretty good for what I need it for anyways.
Done a lot of painting and grinding in here. I figured I better change the filter in my air circulation system.
Oh yeah.
Good thing these are cheap.
Figured I'd come outside and get some fresh air. It's pretty gross in the shop. I really have no proper exhaust system in there at all. Anyways, the black is laid down, the front end fabrication is done. We are just about ready to start putting stuff back together. I'm going to let this paint dry, and we're going to do a bunch of masking, and I'm going to paint the bars up again. Once all that's done, back to fabricating some control arms, getting the proper ball joints put back in them, the proper bushings put back in them, and then putting them back on the car. I'm kind of, not gonna lie, I'm kind of had enough of the front end, fighting myself on just slapping it back together. Still gotta make sure I do it right, but I really want to get onto the backside. There's some stuff, ideas that I've got brewing around that I really want to get done to it. So I want to get this front end back together and try and get the car back on the ground. All right, I'm here with my guys, Luke and Zenny. They're going to give me a hand painting the car. We're going to start by masking it off. You guys know what we got to do to mask it off first, right? So I'll show you guys kind of what I had in mind, and then we'll go ahead and start painting it. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Fun.
That's it?
Basically.
All right, let's do it. All right, we got the car pretty much masked up. The guys did a really good job working around all the pipes. So we're gonna start laying some white down on the bars. This is probably gonna make every painter out there cringe, but I got myself a quart of trim plaid, some foam rollers, and some foam brushes, and that's what I'm gonna be using to paint the bars. Really, I just find you can get a thicker coat, and I find the foam rollers and the foam brushes don't leave the streaks in the bars if I were to use like a regular brush. We don't want to be spray bombing in here. You get overspray all over everything. So we're going with the rollers and some trim plaid, and we're probably gonna get paint all over ourselves.
Maybe.
And the car. While I'm mixing the paint, I gotta mix this jug up. I want you guys to give the bars a good scuff. So we got some grit to paint to, and then we'll paint. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Go! Alright, we got a coat of paint on here for now. We will probably let it dry overnight and get another coat on maybe tomorrow or the next time we can get back in here. Did you guys get a lot of paint on you?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah? Was it fun? You guys did a really good job. I appreciate you guys coming in and giving me a hand. Now, pretty sure it's your bedtime, so get to bed! Well, there you guys have it. The front end, kind of the majority of the fab work is done. I got some paint on there. It's looking fresh. Was all this work really necessary? I'll probably go ahead and say no, it wasn't. Is there a real benefit to what I did with the cross member? Aside from maybe strengthening it up a bit, it may have made the front a little bit stiffer. I feel there was still a little bit of flex in the front just based on the condition of the old cross member and the way it was flexing. It mounted in there with 2 bolts, one of them which turned out to be stripped on this side anyways, and then 1 bolt that went through, so there really wasn't a whole lot to help keep the cross member moving with the chassis. I feel at times they were moving independently. I could have just welded the stock cross member in place without any modifications. That probably would offer me the exact same benefit as to what I did here. But having to notch the cross member to fit my oil pan, this was maybe a little bit more work. But it looks a little bit cleaner, and I do kind of enjoy doing this kind of stuff. As for a performance benefit, I don't think you're going to see anything on the track performance-wise. But for longevity, the car, I'm hoping that that's where the benefit lies. Otherwise, everything's still in the same spot, so the control arms still mount in the exact same locations they would in a factory application. The steering rack is in the exact same place at the exact same angle. It's not changing the geometry of the lower control arms like, say, an aftermarket performance cross member might. It's really just a whole lot of work to make things look a little bit cooler and a little bit cleaner, really. The reason I went two colors is I've kind of done that the whole time I've had this car. I feel it's just a little bit different. The vast majority of cars, they just end up getting painted or powder coated. The chassis, the cage, everything is all one color. And then you do the tin work is a different color and this and that. I really like the cage to stand out, especially if it's a good looking cage. I really like this cage. I'm proud of the job that Scotty and I did putting this cage in. I think it looks cool. And so you can highlight it by doing different colors. And I've done that in the past. The first build of this car, it was black with a black cage, but I did the interior, the inside of the panels in red to make the cage pop a little bit more. The second time around, I did the cage white, and the chassis was all blue, and the bodywork was all blue. And then we went back to black, but I made the bars all copper this time around. So it's just something that I like to do. I feel it makes things stand out. It makes my car stand out amongst other cars. And it's just, I don't know, something I like to take a little bit of pride in. The boys did a pretty good job helping me mask all this stuff off. I did end up giving it a quick shot with a spray can after a couple coats of paint with the rollers and stuff, just to help even it out. But it's suitable for what I was going after, so I'm pretty happy with it. So far I'm into this thing. I have bought some parts. I'll get to that later as we install them. In total, I've spent about 40 bucks on the paint and the supplies. I'll keep track of all this stuff as I go through the build to kind of give you guys an idea of how much I'm spending and what it might cost if you want to do something similar to your car. Give you an idea. I find a lot of times people downplay the cost of racing to try and get new people in, and it can be really misleading sometimes. You can buy a car for cheap, but then when it comes to all the mandatory safety gear that you got to buy, and then just the overall maintenance throughout the car, it gets a little daunting, and I feel it deters a lot of people. Where if you kind of get an honest assessment up front, and then how you can do it affordable as well. So like I said, I'm pretty frugal when it comes to buying race car parts and building race car parts. So I'll kind of let you guys know how I acquire the things I do and the prices that I can get them for. And that's generally basically all out of my pocket. A little bit of help from sponsors, but I still need to front the money to buy the parts. So I don't really get anything handed to me, and I feel that's the majority of the situation of guys running cars in this style of class. So we're up to about 40 bucks so far, and that'll paint the whole rest of the car as well. That includes the flat black rattle cans that I got, even though the rattle cans for the white paint, the rollers, the whole works. So I'm into painting the car, updating it to the paint colors that I wanted this year for about 40 bucks. Anyways, next time around we're going to start to build the control arms. I got some new control arms that we're going to have to modify to fit the right ball joints and the right bushings and stuff that I like to do to the control arms. So we'll get started on that, and hopefully this thing's on its front wheels before too long. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.